Before we begin, this broadcast is a fictional audio drama created for entertainment purposes. Good evening. We are beginning with what was, until about 20 minutes ago, a regional aviation and weather story over the Great Lakes. At 6:42 p.m. Central Time, air traffic controllers in Chicago, Milwaukee, Grand Rapids, and Cleveland began reporting intermittent radar loss across a wide section of Lake Michigan and the lower Great Lakes corridor. At first, the assumption was weather interference. There are storms moving north of the lake tonight, nothing severe enough to explain a total coverage problem, but enough moisture, enough electrical activity, enough low cloud to give controllers something ordinary to blame for a few minutes. Then the radar came back, and when it came back, there was something in it. A mass large enough that several early controllers thought they were looking at a software fault, dense enough that the radar treated it like terrain. Moving southwest at roughly 200 knots, low enough to interfere with commercial flight corridors, but too broad to be aircraft, too slow to be a meteor, and too steady to be debris. The Federal Aviation Network has now issued a ground stop across Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit, Cleveland, and several surrounding airports. Flights already in the region are being diverted. Small aircraft are being told to land immediately if they can do so safely. The public has not been given a full explanation yet. But the latest advisory from the Great Lakes Air Defense Coordination Office says, quote, "A large unclassified aerial mass is being tracked over Lake Michigan and adjacent airspace. Civil aviation operators are instructed to avoid the affected corridor. The object or objects are not currently identified as aircraft. Further information will be released as soon as available." End quote. That is the official language, a large unclassified aerial mass, not aircraft, not weather, not debris. And at this hour, moving toward the Chicago metropolitan area, Mara, you've been monitoring local traffic cameras, affiliate feeds, and the emergency channels. What are people seeing on the ground?
John, the strange thing is that most people are not seeing anything clearly yet. The sky over Chicago is low and gray tonight, with some rain bands moving through and a lot of cloud cover. People are seeing shadows in the clouds. They're seeing a darkening to the north and east. Some videos show what looks like a flat underside moving behind the cloud deck, but it's hard to tell what is real and what is compression and panic. The first reports that made me pay attention were not visual. They were sound reports. People along the lakefront began posting that they could hear a very low vibration, not thunder, not engines, something heavier. Several people described it as pressure in the ears before they heard anything. One person in Evanston wrote that her windows were humming in their frames even though the wind outside was light. Emergency dispatch audio from the northern suburbs is now full of calls about glass rattling, pets reacting, car alarms going off, and people feeling like the air is being pushed down. There are no official evacuation orders. That is important. But police in several lakefront communities are telling people to move indoors and stay away from windows. And John, I want to say this carefully. The thing on radar appears to be much wider than the early public statement suggested. This is not a plane-shaped unknown. It is not even storm-shaped in the normal way. Some local meteorologists are privately saying the radar return looks like a moving wall.
That matches what we are hearing from aviation sources. The object is being tracked as a continuous high-density return with a leading edge stretching for miles. We are not going to speculate on origin. We are not going to call it a vehicle. We are not going to call it biological until officials say that, although that word has already begun circulating in private emergency channels. What matters right now is the motion. The leading edge is approaching the northern edge of the Chicago metropolitan area. Speed remains close to 200 knots, but there are indications the object is descending, not falling straight down, settling. That is the word one source used, settling lower as it moves. We have a new public advisory from the Illinois Emergency Management Office, quote, "Residents in Cook, Lake, and DuPage counties should remain indoors and avoid unnecessary travel. Stay away from windows and exterior walls if possible. Do not attempt to observe the aerial disturbance from rooftops, balconies, beaches, or open areas. Emergency services are responding to weather-related and aviation-related disruptions." End quote weather-related and aviation-related. That is soft language. It may be all they are prepared to say, but the instruction is clear. Stay indoors. Stay away from windows. Do not go outside to watch. If you are in the Chicago area and listening to us now, treat that guidance seriously. Do not go to the lakefront. Do not go to the roof. Do not stand under glass because you want video. This is not a normal storm. We are now receiving reports of a sudden wind event across the northern suburbs. Trees down in Wilmette, power lines down in Highland Park. Vehicles pushed sideways on sections of Sheridan Road. Windows blown out along several lakefront buildings. The National Weather Service has not issued a tornado warning for those areas. This appears to be air displacement ahead of the object. A pressure wave, not caused by wind in the normal meteorological sense, caused by something large forcing air out of the space it is entering. That is the best plain language description I can give right now. If an object miles wide drops into the lower atmosphere, the air beneath it has to go somewhere. It goes outward. It becomes a wall. Mara, where are you right now?
I'm on the west side of Lincoln Park, near the edge of the open green space. We came here earlier for what was supposed to be a short live stand-up about the aviation ground stop. At that point, the guidance was to stay clear of the lakefront, but not necessarily leave the area. That has changed. We are moving toward a lower building now, away from the open park. People around us are confused. Some are running, some are filming. A lot of people are looking up, but the cloud deck is too low to see much. The air feels wrong. I know that sounds vague, but it does. It feels like standing near a train before it enters a tunnel. Pressure in the chest, a low vibration in the ground. Birds are moving inland in huge numbers. Dogs are pulling at leashes. There are sirens coming from every direction now. Police are using loudspeakers and telling people to get inside. Some are saying go to basements. Others are saying stay above ground because no one seems to know what the correct instruction is for something that is above you and falling. The sky to the northeast is darker than the rest of the sky, not like night, not like storm cloud, flatter than that. It looks like the cloud ceiling has become a wall.
Mara, if you can get inside, do that.
We're trying. There's a maintenance building near the park and people are moving toward it. I can see families, joggers, a couple with a stroller. Everyone is moving faster now because the wind just hit harder. It is not steady wind. It comes in pulses. Each pulse knocks leaves and trash and rain sideways. The trees are bending all in the same direction away from the lake. The sky is getting lower. I know that cannot be exactly right, but that is what it looks like.
Stay with us as long as you safely can, but safety first. We have confirmation now that the leading edge has crossed the shoreline north of the city. Multiple traffic cameras along Lakeshore Drive have gone offline. A camera near Montrose Harbor captured 3 seconds before failing. The image shows a gray surface descending through the cloud layer. Not cloud, surface. It appears textured. It appears solid. The frame is blurred by rain and motion, but the surface has folds, ridges, and darker seams. Officials have not released the image publicly. Several local affiliates are describing the object as a sheet. That is the word being used now across emergency channels, a miles-wide membrane-like mass descending over the city. Again, we do not know what it is, but that is what it appears to be. The pressure wave is now moving through Chicago proper. We are seeing reports of structural damage before contact. Garage doors blown inward or outward depending on orientation. Street lights down. Trees uprooted, scaffolding collapsing, cars pushed into intersections. A building facade has come down in Uptown. Emergency services are overloaded with calls, but the calls are changing from what is that sound to my windows exploded to my roof is moving. The object has not yet fully reached downtown. The damage we are describing is from the air ahead of it. That should tell you the scale. We have a new emergency alert. Quote, extreme shelter advisory for Chicago metropolitan area. Move immediately to the lowest structurally secure interior space available. Stay away from windows, skylights, glass atriums, roof access points, and exterior walls. Do not attempt travel. Do not call emergency services unless there is immediate danger to life. Unknown aerial mass is producing destructive wind and falling debris." End quote. Unknown aerial mass producing destructive wind and falling debris. That is now the official public language. If you are in the affected area, move now. Interior room, stairwell, concrete corridor. Subway station if you are already inside one and can stay away from platforms and glass. Do not go outside. Do not try to drive. Mara, can you hear me?
Yes, we are inside the maintenance building. There are maybe 40 people in here, maybe more. We are in a concrete hallway away from the windows. The building is shaking. The sound is incredible. It is not like thunder. It is like fabric tearing, but enormous, like the whole sky is being dragged across metal. People are covering their ears. The lights are flickering. There is dust coming from the ceiling tiles. Someone just opened a door to look outside and everyone yelled at him to close it. Before it shut, I saw the park. John, it is not raining now. It is dark under the thing. The sky is just gray hide. That is the only way I can describe it. Gray hide coming down over the trees.
Mara, stay away from that door.
We are. The wind outside has turned into a roar. I can hear glass breaking somewhere, maybe the buildings across the street. There is a pressure in my ears and people are crying, but nobody can really hear each other. A man is holding the door shut with his shoulder, even though I don't think the door matters at this point. The building just moved. It felt like the roof was pressed down.
We are seeing reports that the first full contact has occurred across the north side. The sheet has reached ground structures. I'm going to use that word because it is now the word being used in city emergency channels. The sheet. It is not landing softly. This is mass. Mass over a city. Reports are coming in of rooftops collapsing under the initial impact. Antennas crushed. Water towers buckling. Upper floors damaged in high-rise buildings. The sound being reported downtown is a continuous impact, like hail if every hailstone were the size of a truck and connected to the next one. The sheet is draping over the city from north to south. That word sounds gentle. It is not gentle. It means the mass is conforming to the shape of the city and crushing the high points first. We have partial structural reports from downtown. The antennas on the Hancock building have been crushed or bent. Several communications towers are down. Top floor windows have blown out along multiple high-rises. Roof equipment is being sheared off. HVAC units, satellite dishes, window washing rigs, metal panels all coming loose and falling. The Chicago Fire Department is telling units not already in motion to shelter in place. That means emergency responders are being told not to respond unless they can do so without entering the open. That is a severe sign. When the responders shelter, the city is in immediate danger. Mara?
The roof is making sounds. There are long bending sounds like metal being pulled slowly. People are on the floor now. Some are under tables. The air is full of dust. The hallway is hot already. I don't know why. Maybe the ventilation stopped. There was just a heavy hit overhead. Everyone screamed. I think something fell on the building or the sheet touched the roof. The lights are out now. We have phone lights, but people are turning them downward because no one wants to see the ceiling. There are children in here. People are trying to keep them quiet, not because noise matters, I don't think, but because everyone is scared and quiet feels like control. The whole building is groaning. John, I can hear the city outside. I don't know how else to say it. Not sirens, not traffic, the city itself, metal, glass, concrete, all making noise at once.
Stay down. Stay away from walls if you can. We have lost several affiliate feeds in the city. Our own studio is not in the impact zone, but we are receiving intermittent power flicker and network degradation. We will stay on air as long as possible. For listeners outside Chicago, do not call family repeatedly if lines are failing unless you have urgent need. Texts may go through more reliably than calls. Emergency networks are being saturated. For listeners inside Chicago, if you are in a structurally sound building and not in immediate danger, stay where you are. Do not attempt to leave while the sheet is settling. Do not move toward windows to take pictures. Do not go to rooftops. If your roof is failing, move down if safe. If you are in a basement and air pressure changes, monitor breathing and exits. We do not yet know how this material is interacting with ventilation systems, streets, or lower structures. That is an uncomfortable thing to say. But we are in unfamiliar conditions. We have an update from the city. Quote, "The city of Chicago is experiencing catastrophic structural and atmospheric effects from an unidentified aerial, biological, or material mass. Residents must shelter immediately. Emergency response is limited. Do not attempt evacuation until instructed. Avoid exterior air if possible. Close interior doors. Move away from glass. Await further guidance." End quote. That is the first official use of the word biological, unidentified aerial, biological, or material mass. They are hedging because they do not know if the sheet is living tissue, dead tissue, synthetic material, or something else. But responders are seeing enough to put biological into the alert. The sheet has now reached downtown. We are receiving reports that the top floors of several skyscrapers are taking direct load. Windows are failing outward and inward depending on pressure differences and impact angle. Metal spires are being bent. Roof decks are collapsing. People in high rises are being told to move to interior stairwells and lower floors if they can do so safely. The Willis Tower is reporting severe antenna damage and upper floor structural strain. The building has not collapsed. Repeat, the building has not collapsed. But the upper structure is under load. Mara, are you still with us?
Yes, the first impact seems to have passed over us, or at least the worst of it. The building is still standing, but it is dark outside the door window. Not night dark. Covered dark. Someone tried to call 911 and got nothing. A few people are texting family. There is a smell now. Wet leather, hot metal, something sour. The air is thick, we can breathe, but everyone is aware of breathing. A man near the door says there is something pressed against the outside wall. He can hear it sliding. There are no sirens anymore, at least not near us. Just this low pressure sound, like the world is being held under a hand.
Mara, we're going to come back to you shortly. Stay inside. This is Fictional Radio. We're covering a catastrophic impact event in Chicago. A miles-wide sheet-like mass has descended from the Great Lakes corridor and made contact with the city. The initial air displacement has caused widespread wind damage. The sheet has now draped across parts of the metropolitan area, damaging roofs, high-rise antennas, upper floors, streets, power systems, and communications infrastructure. The object is being described by city officials as an unidentified aerial, biological, or material mass. There is no evacuation order because evacuation is not currently possible in affected areas. The instruction remains shelter indoors, away from windows, away from rooftops, away from exterior walls where possible. The sky over Chicago has fallen, and the city is under it. We're continuing. I'm John Vale. Mara Ellison is reporting from inside a maintenance building near Lincoln Park, where she and dozens of others took shelter as the sheet came down over the city. The situation in Chicago has moved from impact to entrapment. That is the best word right now. Entrapment. The sheet is not simply lying on the city. It is sealing portions of it. Emergency management officials are now reporting that the material is adhesive where it contacts glass, asphalt, concrete, steel, and roofing membranes. It appears to mold itself into streets, over roof edges, around towers, across elevated tracks, into alleys, and over ventilation intakes. It is heavy enough to crush weak roofs, flexible enough to sag into open spaces, and tight enough in many places to block air movement. The result is a city-sized pressure problem. Let me explain as plainly as I can. When the sheet settled over parts of Chicago, it displaced enormous amounts of air. That pressure wave caused the first wave of damage. Now, as the sheet seals streets and open spaces, some exterior areas under it are experiencing rapid pressure drops. Air is being squeezed, pulled, or displaced through any available path. Streets under the sheet are becoming low-pressure pockets. Buildings, by contrast, still contain air at higher pressure. That means windows and doors are failing outward, not inward, outward. People expect a falling mass to push through glass from outside, but in many areas, the air inside buildings is pushing out into the lower pressure void beyond the windows. The windows are exploding into the streets. Glass is not raining down in the usual way. It is firing outward. We have an emergency structural advisory from the city. Quote, residents in affected areas should stay away from windows, exterior doors, atriums, skylights, and curtain wall glass. Pressure differentials may cause glass and unsecured panels to fail outward without warning. Do not attempt to open exterior doors if resistance, suction, heat, or material obstruction is present. End quote. Do not open exterior doors. That is now official guidance. If the sheet has sealed the outside of your building, opening a door may create violent airflow, structural damage, or exposure to whatever is trapped against the building. Stay inside unless the structure is actively failing. Mara, what is the air like where you are?
It's getting hot. That is the biggest change. At first it was dust and fear and the smell. Now the hallway is warm, not unbearable, but rising. People are taking off jackets. Some are coughing because the air feels stale. There is no ventilation. The fans stopped when the power went out, and even if they were running, I don't know where the air would go. The building feels wrapped. We tried to check one of the small exterior windows from inside the hallway without getting close. It's covered, not with darkness outside. Covered physically. There is a gray-brown surface pressed against the glass, and it moves a little. Slowly, like something heavy settling into a seat. People are very quiet now. The loud part was easier in a terrible way because everyone could just react. This part is worse because we have time to understand we may be trapped. A woman keeps asking if the air will run out. Nobody wants to answer her.
We do not know how long interior air will remain safe in different structures. That will vary by building size, ventilation, number of people, whether the sheet has sealed exterior intake and exhaust points, and whether there is any remaining airflow through basements, tunnels, or connected structures. City officials are advising people not to use open flames. Do not light candles if you can avoid it. Do not run portable generators indoors. Do not run cars in garages. Carbon monoxide will kill faster than whatever is outside. That remains true. We are now seeing another effect. Heat. Mara mentioned it, and the city is beginning to report it. The sheet appears to be an effective insulator. It is trapping heat from cars, subway tunnels, power transformers, buildings, human bodies, steam systems, and fires that cannot vent normally. Chicago is cooling outside the affected area tonight, but under the sheet, temperatures are rising, not evenly. Some pockets remain cool, others are becoming dangerously warm. Several subway stations are reporting heat and humidity buildup. Underground platforms may be especially dangerous if ventilation has failed. People in subway tunnels are being told to move toward open stations only if those stations are not sealed, and if movement can be done safely. And complicated guidance is hard to follow during a disaster. We have reports of fires under the sheet, car fires, transformer fires, kitchen fires. Small fires that would normally vent smoke upward are instead filling trapped spaces. Firefighters cannot reach many locations. Some crews are operating from inside connected structures. Some are trapped in stations. Some have lost communication. If you are in an affected building and smell smoke, move away from it if possible. Close interior doors. Use wet cloth if available, though do not rely on that as protection from toxic smoke. Signal from interior windows facing unsealed areas if you have them. This is not normal fire response. The outside may not be outside anymore. We now have a statement from the Illinois Emergency Management Office. Quote, catastrophic atmospheric entrapment is occurring in portions of Chicago. Residents should shelter in structurally stable interior spaces, conserve breathable air, avoid unnecessary movement, avoid opening exterior doors, and report life-threatening conditions by text where possible. Voice lines are overloaded. End quote. Catastrophic atmospheric entrapment. That is now the official phrase. It means people are trapped not only by mass, but by air, by pressure, by heat, by sealed streets. We are receiving structural reports from downtown. Several high-rises have experienced outward glass failure on multiple floors. In some buildings, entire banks of windows have blown into sealed exterior spaces, leaving offices open to the trapped void beneath the sheet. People in those buildings are being told to move inward and downward, but not to ground levels that may be blocked or under pressure stress. The word from engineers is compartmentalize close doors. Separate floors create smaller internal zones of breathable air. Use stairwells carefully. Do not use elevators. Elevator shafts may become pressure channels, heat channels, or obstruction points. That will matter later. Mara, are there any injuries where you are?
Yes, a man was cut by glass when one of the small windows cracked. Not badly, but there is blood. And people are nervous because nobody knows whether the material outside is toxic. The glass did not fall inward. It popped outward and left a crack like a punched hole. A little air moved toward it, and everyone backed away. A nurse is here. Actually, she was jogging in the park when this happened. She wrapped his arm with someone's shirt and told everyone to stop crowding him because the room is hot enough already. There is a child having trouble breathing, maybe asthma. People are trying to find an inhaler. Someone has one, but it might not be the right kind. The nurse is talking to the parents. The worst thing is that every problem feels multiplied. A cut is not just a cut because you can't leave. Asthma is not just asthma because the air is changing. A locked door is not just a locked door because you don't know what pressure is on the other side. It makes ordinary emergencies feel like they have weight added to them.
That is exactly what disasters do. They add weight to ordinary problems. We have an update from the Chicago Transit Authority. Quote, rail service within the affected area is suspended. Passengers currently in stations should follow instructions from transit personnel and emergency responders. Do not enter tunnels. Do not attempt to walk along tracks. Ventilation conditions vary by location and may be hazardous. End quote. Reports from several stations are concerning. Some platforms are hot, some have smoke, some have partial flooding because water lines ruptured during the impact. A station near the loop is reporting outward failure of glass entrances and sealed street-level exits. Transit workers are moving people through maintenance corridors where possible. Again, do not enter tunnels unless directed by personnel. A tunnel may look like an escape route. It may be a heat channel, a smoke channel, or a dead end. We are now receiving reports of building interiors becoming pressurized in strange ways. Doors slamming, ceiling tiles lifting, dust being pulled through vents, elevator doors shuddering. In one building, an interior glass wall shattered because air moved through a corridor with enough force to turn the hallway into a pressure conduit. These are not normal storm effects. They are the effects of a city being sealed unevenly. Some spaces are losing air. Some are holding air. Some are overheating. Some are feeding pressure into others. The city is no longer one atmosphere. It is a set of trapped rooms. We have the first casualty estimate from the city, and it is very preliminary. Officials are saying hundreds injured. Unknown fatalities. That phrase is expected early in an event of this size. Unknown fatalities does not mean few. It means they cannot count. Several neighborhoods are unreachable. Communications are down. Responders cannot move through streets where the sheet has sealed roadways, crushed vehicles, or created low-pressure pockets. Drones sent into gaps have been lost. The material appears to interfere with propellers, rotors, and radio signals when in close contact. No one is calling this a living organism officially. But the behavior is not passive. That is the hardest part to say carefully. The sheet is settling, adhering, contracting in places, sagging into openings. It may be responding to heat, pressure, vibration, or chemical gradients. It may simply be material physics. But it is not behaving like a tarp dropped on a city. Mara?
Something just hit the roof again. Not a slap this time, more like a heavy drag. The hallway ceiling bent down for a second and came back. Everyone froze. The nurse is telling people to sit lower because the air near the ceiling feels hotter. That's true. If I raise my hand, it's warmer higher up. Phones are losing battery. People are turning them off except to send texts every few minutes. There is no signal for some people. Others can send messages but not receive. That's making them more scared because they don't know if family got the message. Someone just got a text from outside the affected area saying the news is calling this a biological mass. People reacted badly to that word. Biological makes it feel like it can decide things. I don't know if it can, but down here, it feels like the building is being held.
Biological does not necessarily mean conscious. It does not necessarily mean intentional. It means the material has characteristics associated with living or formerly living tissue. It may be organic. It may be cellular. It may have vascular structures. It may produce chemical reactions. It does not mean there is a mind. That distinction matters, but I understand why the word frightens people. We have a new advisory from federal emergency officials. Quote, residents outside the affected area should not attempt self-directed rescue into Chicago. Roads are blocked, air conditions are unstable, and emergency access must remain clear. Volunteers should await official staging instructions. End quote. Do not drive into the city to help. That is hard to hear if someone you love is there. But uncoordinated rescue will block roads, consume fuel, create more trapped people, and put rescuers at risk. Wait for official staging, use text messages, share verified information. Do not spread rumors about safe routes unless they are confirmed. We are now receiving thermal imaging reports from aircraft operating outside the affected airspace. The sheet appears warmer along major heat corridors, downtown, rail lines, power substations, industrial zones. Tunnel vents, it may be absorbing heat, it may simply be showing where heat is trapped beneath it, but thermal signatures are shifting. That may become important. The material is not only covering the city, it is interacting with the city's heat. We are approaching 2 hours since the first radar blackout. The event began as an aviation anomaly. It became a falling impact. Now it is a sealed atmospheric disaster. The city is under a mass that is heavy, adhesive, insulating, and pressure altering. People inside buildings are facing heat, glass failure, smoke, low air exchange, structural strain, and communication loss. And the sheet is still moving slowly now, not across the map the way it was before impact, but through the city's shape, into vents, across roofs, down streets, around towers. As if the skyline is being wrapped tighter, we will continue. Okay, we're back. Mara Ellison is still sheltering with civilians near Lincoln Park. We are maintaining intermittent contact with her as signal allows. The situation in Chicago has entered a new phase. For the last hour, the primary dangers were impact, pressure, heat, and entrapment. Now the sheet is penetrating structures. Massive tendrils or trunks are descending from the underside of the sheet into buildings, streets, elevator shafts, ventilation systems, and mechanical spaces. Officials are not using the word feeding in public guidance. Some emergency channels are. We will be careful. What is confirmed is this. The material is extending downward into buildings and extracting structural and conductive materials, copper wiring, steel reinforcement, plumbing, elevator cable, power conduit, rebar communications line. In several buildings, these materials are being physically pulled upward through shafts, ceilings, walls, and floors, not melted, not dissolved, pulled. We have an engineering alert from the Chicago Structural Response Group. Quote, unknown biological mass is producing downward intrusions into high-rise and mid-rise structures. Intrusions appear to follow heat, electrical, and vertical service pathways. Avoid elevator shafts, mechanical rooms, electrical closets, utility corridors, and exposed conduit where possible. Move to interior spaces away from vertical cores if structurally safe. End quote. Away from vertical cores. That is a major change. Earlier, stairwells and interior cores were among the safer places. Now vertical cores may attract intrusion because they contain heat, wiring, elevator systems, plumbing, and open pathways through buildings. Guidance is shifting because the danger is shifting. If you are in an affected building, follow building emergency personnel if present. If no personnel are present, avoid elevators, elevator lobbies, electrical rooms, and mechanical floors. Stay in structurally sound interior spaces away from glass and away from visible utility lines if possible. Mara, what are you seeing where you are?
We heard something in the walls. At first, people thought it was pipes. Then the lights flickered, even though the power was already mostly out, like something arced somewhere. There was a smell of burned plastic. A maintenance worker who knows the building said there is an electrical room down the hall, and he told everyone not to go near it. A few minutes later, We heard metal snapping from that direction. Short sounds, sharp, like someone cutting thick cable with giant shears. Then something hit the other side of the wall. Not a person. Heavy, slow. The nurse moved the children farther back. People are trying not to scream because everyone feels like noise might draw it, though we don't know that. It is hotter now, and the air has a chemical taste like pennies and bleach.
If there is any sign of chemical irritation, cover your mouth and nose with cloth if available, but do not restrict breathing too much in a low-air environment. Move away from the source if you can. Reports from downtown are severe. Multiple buildings are experiencing internal extraction events. That is the phrase now appearing in emergency management dashboards. Internal extraction events. In one office tower, copper wiring was pulled from electrical closets across multiple floors, causing fires, arc flashes, and blackouts. In another, plumbing lines ruptured as metal was torn upward through walls. Several elevator cars have fallen or become trapped after cable failure. Do not use elevators. That cannot be emphasized enough. Do not use elevators in any affected structure. We are receiving reports from the Willis Tower and Hancock area. The sheet is contracting across the skyline. The material that draped across the upper structures is tightening, drawing high points inward toward each other and toward the mass center. This is causing lateral stress on towers. Buildings are designed to be pulled sideways by an adhesive biological mass anchored across multiple structures. Engineers are reporting measurable lean changes, not collapse at this moment. Lean, stress, connection failure. Steel under tension. The sound being reported from downtown is thousands of metallic snaps, pops, and cracks. Rivets, bolts. Window frames, structural connections, all under loads they were never designed to carry. People in downtown towers are describing it as gunfire inside the walls. It is not gunfire. It is steel failing. We have a statement from the city engineer's office. Quote, several high-rise structures in the central business district are undergoing abnormal lateral load and connection failure due to adhered external mass contraction. Occupants should move away from upper floors where possible and avoid areas with visible wall cracking, floor slope changes, water intrusion, exposed wiring, or unusual structural noise. End quote. Unusual structural noise in a high-rise under this kind of load. That may be your earliest warning. If the floor tilts, if doors jam, if ceiling lines shift, if columns crack, if you hear repeated snapping or deep groaning, move if you can do so safely, but do not run into exterior areas. There may be no safe exterior.
The wall near the electrical room is bulging. Not a lot, but enough that people can see it. The maintenance worker is telling everyone to move to the far side of the hallway. We are packed into a storage area now. It is cramped, but there are no windows. There was a loud, tearing sound behind us. The floor shook. Then the lights went completely out, including emergency lights. We only have phones. Someone is praying. Someone else is angry because he says we should break through a side door and run, but nobody knows if there is anywhere to run to. The door to the outside is sealed. The little window in it is covered with gray material. And it is sweating, that's what it looks like. Liquid is running down the inside of the glass now, or maybe between the glass and whatever is outside. It smells worse. I can hear something above us moving.
Mara, if conditions worsen, stop reporting and focus on shelter.
I know, but I think people should know what it sounds like in here. It does not sound like an attack. It sounds like a building being used for parts.
The sheet appears to be extracting material from the built environment. Why, we do not know. Minerals, heat, conductive metals, structural mass, chemical energy, we do not know. But it is not simply crushing randomly. It is following systems, power systems, elevator systems, steel skeletons. It is using the city's own infrastructure as pathways. That is why this is so destructive. Chicago was built upward and connected internally. Elevators, cables, pipes, ventilation, subways, steam, power, communications, all the things that make a vertical city work are now routes into its body. We have reports from residential buildings where trunks have entered through roof mechanical rooms and moved down elevator shafts. In several cases, people sheltering in hallways saw walls open as conduit was pulled through them. The trunks are described as fleshy but armored in places. Gray outer surface, darker seams, wet texture, strong chemical smell, no visible eyes, mouth, or obvious sensory organs. They do not grab people according to confirmed reports. They grab material. That does not make them safe. If you are near wiring, plumbing, rebar, elevator cable, or metal fixtures when extraction occurs, the building itself can become shrapnel, walls burst, floors tear, ceilings open, pipes whip, electrical arcs ignite. People can be crushed, cut, burned, trapped, or pulled into collapsing spaces without the sheet ever targeting them. This is not predation in the simple sense. It is industrial destruction by a biological mass. We are now getting the first images from outside the sealed area taken by high-altitude aircraft. The sheet covers a large section of Chicago like a dark gray skin, sagging over the skyline. The tallest buildings push into it like tent poles under wet canvas. Along the downtown core, several protrusions extend downward from the underside into the high-rises. The image is not being shown publicly by all networks because it is disturbing, but the description is enough. The city does not look attacked. It looks covered, and that may be worse. Covered means the city is still there. People are still inside. Buildings are still standing in places. But the city is under something that is pressing, sealing, heating, and stripping it. Mara, still with us?
Yes, the bulging wall tore open. I don't know how else to say it. It opened from the inside or from behind. Drywall, metal studs, wires, everything came out at once, not toward us fully, mostly upward and sideways. A bundle of copper wire pulled through the wall like roots being ripped out of dirt. There was a flash and sparks. People screamed. Someone is burned. The nurse is with him. The thing behind the wall was not like a tentacle exactly. It was thicker than that, more like a trunk, gray, wet, ridged. It pushed into the electrical room and then pulled back with the wiring inside or wrapped around it. It did not come toward us, but it tore the building open. There is smoke now, not a lot, but enough. We are moving again farther back if we can. The maintenance worker says there is another interior room, maybe storage, maybe no vents. I don't know if that is good or bad.
Move away from smoke if possible. Stay low if the air is clearer. Do not follow the trunk. Do not touch exposed wires or wet surfaces near electrical damage. The situation downtown is deteriorating. Engineers are now warning of possible tower-to-tower collision risk in the central business district. The sheet is contracting between several high-rise anchors. The Willis Tower and nearby structures are experiencing lateral load. The Hancock area is also under strain. Some of the early names circulating online are not precise, and we should avoid turning this into landmark spectacle. These buildings are occupied. They contain people. They contain stairwells full of people trying to move. They contain mechanical rooms, emergency crews, security guards, janitors, office workers, residents in nearby towers, and people who did not know this would be the night their building became part of a disaster. But the skyline is bending. That is the reality. We have audio from an exterior microphone outside the affected zone. We will not play it, but a producer described it as constant metallic popping under a low roar. That matches the structural reports. Steel under stress does not fail quietly. Bolts snap like gunshots, beams groan, glass bursts, concrete cracks, elevator cables whip, plumbing tears, and above it all, the sheet moves with a deep, dragging sound as it tightens over the city. We have a federal emergency statement, quote, "The President has authorized immediate deployment of military aviation, engineering, medical, and hazardous material response units to Illinois. Operations are focused on aerial assessment, perimeter evacuation, structural rescue, and evaluation of options to separate or neutralize the unidentified mass. Residents inside the affected zone should continue to shelter. Residents outside the zone should evacuate if instructed by local authorities," end quote. Evaluation of options to separate or neutralize, that is the first sign officials are considering active removal. That will be extremely dangerous. The sheet is adhered to buildings. Cutting it, burning it, pulling it, or bombing it may damage the city further. But doing nothing means the extraction continues. There may be no clean option.
We are in the storage room now. It is smaller. Maybe 20 people made it in here. I don't know where everyone else is. Some stayed back with the injured man because moving him was hard. The air is bad, hot, smoky, chemical. People are breathing through shirts. Phones are dim because batteries are dying. We can hear the trunk moving in the hallway. It is not fast, it is heavy, it drags across the floor and then pulls upward. Every time it pulls, something in the ceiling tears. A child asked if the building is being eaten. No one answered.
We are going to keep your line open as long as possible. This is Fictional Radio. Chicago is under the sheet. The city's buildings are being breached through their own infrastructure. Downtown towers are under lateral load. Emergency services are trapped, limited, or unable to respond in many areas. Military forces are now evaluating options to separate or neutralize the mass. And for the people inside, the disaster is no longer above them. It is in the walls. We're continuing. I'm John Vale. The military operation over Chicago has begun. Officials are calling it a separation attempt. The operational name circulating through aviation channels is Scythe. We will describe it plainly. Aircraft are attempting to cut the sheet, not with bombs. Not initially, with tensioned tungsten cable deployed between high-speed aircraft passes designed to slice through the mass across selected corridors and relieve load on critical structures. The idea is brutal but understandable. If the sheet is adhered across the skyline and contracting, then portions of it must be cut before the buildings tear themselves apart under lateral strain. But the risk is extreme. The sheet is fused or adhered to steel, glass, roof structures, towers, antennas, and mechanical systems. Cutting it may release pressure. It may also drop material. It may spray whatever fluids are inside it. It may cause sudden structural rebound. It may slice through buildings as well as the sheet. There is no safe way to do this. There are only less impossible choices. We have an official military statement. Quote, aerial separation operations are underway over the Chicago-affected zone. Residents should remain under shelter and away from exterior walls, windows, roofs, and upper floors where possible. Debris fall, pressure changes, hazardous fluid release, and structural movement are possible. End quote. Hazardous fluid release. That phrase matters. The sheet is not dry. Recovery images and field reports indicate internal fluid channels under pressure. If those channels are cut, the contents may spray. Emergency hazmat teams are preparing for caustic biological solvent. In normal language, acid. A chemical fluid strong enough to burn skin, degrade rubber, corrode metal, and eat through some roof membranes. If you are inside the affected area and hear aircraft, cutting sounds, or sudden rain inside a building, do not assume it is water. Avoid contact with any unknown liquid. Move away from leaks, cover skin if possible. Do not touch puddles. Do not use elevators. Do not open exterior doors. Mara, can you hear us?
Barely, but yes. We heard jets. Everyone got quiet because it was the first normal sound from outside in a long time. Engines. Fast. Human. Then there was a sound like the sky ripping. Not thunder, not impact, a cut. The building shook and something wet hit the roof. Now there is dripping in the hallway. The maintenance worker said do not touch it. The nurse said the same thing. There is a smell like vinegar and hot pennies and bleach. People are moving away from the door because liquid is coming under it. Not a lot, but enough that everyone saw it smoking on the floor, smoking.
Do not touch it. Move away from low spots where it may pool. If it contacts skin, remove contaminated clothing if possible and flush with clean water only if available and safe. But conserve drinking water if supply is limited. That is difficult guidance, but chemical burns may require immediate flushing. We are getting reports now from across the affected zone. The Scythe maneuver has cut a northern section of the sheet. It succeeded in opening several long tears. It also caused catastrophic debris fall. Sections of biological mass, glass, rooftop equipment, antennas, concrete panels, and metal supports are falling through streets and onto lower structures. In several areas, the cut fluid is spraying under pressure. Caustic rain is being reported in Lincoln Park, River North, the Loop, and parts of the near west side. The fluid appears clear to yellow-brown in some lighting. It smokes on contact with some materials. It is dissolving car tires. It is stripping paint. It is burning through lighter roofing materials. It is entering buildings through broken windows, ventilation shafts, roof cracks, stairwell openings, and elevator shafts. People who survived impact and pressure are now facing chemical exposure inside the structures they sheltered in. We have a hazmat advisory, quote, avoid all contact with falling or pooled fluid associated with the unidentified mass. The fluid may cause severe chemical burns, respiratory irritation, and structural material degradation. Move to higher interior surfaces only if safe and not closer to roof failure. Use plastic, metal, or furniture barriers to redirect flow if available. Do not use cloth barriers against active caustic flow. End quote. Move higher only if not closer to roof failure. Again, this is complicated. Low areas may collect acid. High areas may be closer to the sheet. There may be no universally safe direction. People must make building-specific decisions under stress. That is why this is so deadly. Mara, what is happening there?
The liquid is coming in faster, not like a flood, but steady. It runs under the door and spreads across the floor, and wherever it touches certain materials, it sizzles. It ate into a rubber mat near the entrance. The smoke from that made people cough. We pushed shelves and plastic bins against the door to divert it. It's working a little. One person got some on his shoe. The sole is softening. He took the shoe off and threw it away from everyone. The injured man from earlier is not with us. I don't know what happened to the group behind us. I can hear people in the hallway sometimes, but it's hard to tell if they are moving or if it's the building. The jets are back. I can hear them above the roar. People are begging them to stop, but also begging them to keep going, because if they don't cut it, the building gets pulled apart. If they do cut it, the acid comes in. There is no good thing to want.
The second scythe pass has occurred. This pass appears to have struck through part of the downtown adhesion field. Reports are chaotic. Several cuts cross the sheet and parts of upper structures. That was expected as a possibility, but the scale is severe. Glass is falling across the loop. Concrete roof slabs have been dragged loose and dropped. One high-rise experienced sudden rebound after the sheet section attached to it was cut, causing upper floor structural failure. The building has not collapsed, but several floors are severely damaged. The Willis Tower remains standing. The Hancock area remains standing, but the skyline is visibly altered. Antennas gone, roofs torn, upper floors exposed. The sheet has been opened in places but not removed. Some cuts are widening under the material's own tension. Others appear to be closing as the biological mass contracts around the wound. That is a terrible sentence to say about something over a city, but that is what the imagery suggests. The caustic fluid release is now the major hazard in many neighborhoods. Hospitals outside the affected zone are preparing for chemical burn patients if rescue corridors open. Inside the zone, treatment is limited to whatever people have: water, clothing removal, avoiding fumes, improvised barriers, moving away from pooling fluid. There are reports of people using plastic storage lids, shower curtains, sheet metal doors, tabletops, anything that does not immediately degrade, to channel liquid away from groups. There are also reports of people trapped in rooms where the fluid is entering through ceiling lights. We have a statement from City Emergency Management. Quote, residents should be aware that shelter conditions may change rapidly. If caustic fluid enters your shelter space, move laterally or upward only if the route is safe. Avoid roof levels, avoid basements if fluid is draining downward. Do not walk through unknown liquid. Protect eyes, mouth, and skin. Use text-based emergency reporting if possible, end quote. Avoid roof levels, avoid basements if fluid is draining downward. Move laterally or upward only if safe. This is less guidance than a series of impossible trade-offs, but it is what they can offer. Mara?
We moved again. The storage room wasn't safe. The liquid was spreading and smoke was building. We found another interior corridor through a service door. It slopes upward slightly. There are maybe 14 of us now. I don't know about the others. We had to leave the shelves behind because the floor near them was smoking. A woman slipped. 2 people pulled her up before she put her hands down. Her pants touched the liquid at the knee, and the fabric started smoking. They cut it away with a pocket knife. She is burned. She is trying not to scream because there are kids. The nurse is still with us. I don't know how she is still functioning, but she is. The jets are quieter now, or maybe my hearing is damaged. There is a drip somewhere behind us. Everyone is watching the floor. That is the thing now, not the ceiling, the floor.
Stay above the pooling if you can. Keep moving away from fumes. We are with you. We have confirmation that military operations are pausing after the second pass. Officials are reviewing effects before additional cuts. The first two passes relieved some lateral load on critical structures, but increased chemical release and debris fall. That is the trade-off. Cutting the sheet may save the skyline from total contraction. It may also make the interior conditions worse for people under it. This is an engineering rescue operation taking place above civilians who cannot be moved. There may be no ethical clarity in that. Only decisions. The president is expected to address the nation within the hour. The governor of Illinois has requested federal disaster declaration, hazardous material support, military engineering assistance, and mass casualty medical resources. Surrounding states are preparing hospitals for evacuees. Rail lines outside the affected zone are being used to move supplies and medical teams towards staging areas. Helicopter rescue is extremely limited because rotor wash near tiers in the sheet creates unstable fluid spray and debris movement. Several drones have been destroyed or lost. Ground rescue is blocked by sealed streets, collapsed structures, and caustic fluid. This is not a disaster with a clean perimeter. The perimeter moves by building, by block, by gap, by tear, by pressure pocket. We are now getting reports of partial daylight entering some cut areas. That may be the first positive development. In neighborhoods where the sheet has been sliced open, natural air is returning slowly, though mixed with chemical fumes. Temperatures are dropping in some pockets. People are signaling from upper windows where the sheet has peeled back or torn away. Rescue crews are marking visible survivors, but cannot reach many yet. People are being told to display bright cloth or phone lights only if safe and if it does not require approaching broken windows or chemical runoff. Do not break windows intentionally unless instructed. Pressure differences may still be dangerous. Mara, is there any outside air where you are?
I don't know. The air is a little cooler, maybe. Or maybe we moved away from the hottest part. There is a faint gray light at the far end of the corridor now. Not daylight exactly. More like light through dirty skin. Someone says there may be a stairwell there. We are going to try. The floor is mostly dry in that direction. Everyone is moving slowly. No one wants to step wrong. I can hear helicopters now faintly. That sound made people cry. Not because rescue is here, because the world outside still exists.
This is where things stand. The sheet remains over large sections of Chicago. The military has cut portions of it using high-speed cable operations. Those cuts have reduced some structural loads but caused widespread debris and caustic fluid release. The city is dealing with impact damage, pressure failure, heat entrapment, internal extraction, chemical rain, and partial structural collapse. There is no full evacuation. There is no clear, safe route, but there are tiers now. Air is moving in some places. Light is entering some streets. And the sheet is wounded. That word is not official. But physically, that is what happened. It has been cut, and now everyone in the affected zone is waiting to see how it responds. This is Fictional Radio. The sheet is lifting. Not everywhere, not all at once. But across the northern and western edges of the affected zone, the biological mass has begun retracting from the city. Officials are not calling this retreat. They are calling it retraction. The difference matters. Retreat implies intention. Retraction describes motion. What is visible from aircraft is this. The sheet is pulling upward and inward along several torn edges. Portions that were adhered to roofs, towers, antennas, bridges, and mechanical structures are separating violently. And because they are fused to parts of the city, they are taking those parts with them. Roofs, steel beams, upper floors, water towers, elevator machinery, antenna masts, glass curtain walls, mechanical penthouses. The sheet is lifting, and the city is being unroofed. We have a structural advisory, quote, residents in affected buildings should remain clear of upper floors, roof access, atriums, exposed stairwells, and areas under damaged ceilings. Retraction of adhered mass may remove structural components without warning. Falling debris remains a severe hazard. Await rescue instructions where possible. End quote. Retraction of adhered mass may remove structural components. That is what officials are saying. In plain language, the sheet is tearing the tops off buildings as it leaves. Mara, are you still with us?
We made it to the stairwell. There is light now, real light. The sheet tore somewhere above the building or near it. I can see a strip of sky through a crack near the upper landing. It is gray-blue. I didn't realize how much I needed to see sky until everyone stopped moving and stared at it. But the building is open in places. The roof above part of the structure is gone or peeled back. There is debris everywhere. The floor is wet in streaks where the acid came through. Some areas are smoking. The nurse is telling everyone not to touch the walls because some surfaces are contaminated. We can hear helicopters clearly now, and we can hear the sheet moving away. It is not like wind. It is like wet concrete being dragged across steel. Every few seconds there is a crash outside as something comes loose and falls. People want to run toward the light, but nobody knows what is above us, what is hanging, what is burning, what is still stuck to the sheet. We survived being covered. Now we have to survive it leaving.
Do not rush. That is vital. In many disasters, the moment after the main event feels like safety and is still extremely dangerous. After earthquakes, buildings collapse during aftershocks. After storms, power lines are live. After fires, air remains toxic. Here, after the sheet lifts, structures may be missing roofs, walls, beams, stairs, and exterior supports. Acid residue may remain. Glass may be unstable. Pressure doors may fail. Debris may still be falling. Wait for safe routes if you can. Move only if staying put is more dangerous. We have our first wide aerial assessment. It is difficult to describe. The sheet is rising in torn sections, pulling itself toward a higher layer of the atmosphere. Several other sheet-like masses are visible far above, barely distinguishable from cloud, moving east over Lake Michigan and north into the upper atmosphere. They are not being engaged at this moment. Military aircraft are maintaining distance after the chemical release from the cuts. The section over Chicago is lifting, but it has collected material. Collected, large areas of the sheet are darker now, streaked with metal, concrete dust, wiring, vehicle debris, roof material, and chemical burn marks. Long cords of copper, rebar, and cable hang from the underside like torn roots. The trunks that entered buildings are retracting. Some are pulling out cleanly. Most are not. They are ripping the paths open as they leave. Elevator shafts are collapsing. Mechanical floors are tearing. Plumbing stacks are bursting. Electrical rooms are burning where cables are pulled through live systems. Buildings that survived the weight are now being damaged from the inside out. The downtown skyline is visible again in pieces, but it is not the same skyline. The top of several buildings has been removed. Others are jagged, windowless, blackened, bent. Antenna masts gone. Roof structures peeled away. In some cases, the upper 20 floors of a tower are exposed like a cutaway model. You can see office floors, mechanical rooms, stairwells, insulation, hanging wires, furniture, broken walls, and empty rooms open to the sky. That is why some responders are using the word unroofed. We have a new casualty statement from the city. Quote, casualty estimates remain unavailable due to access limitations and ongoing structural hazards. Search and rescue operations are beginning in partially accessible areas. Residents should signal from safe interior locations if able. Do not move through debris fields, chemical residue, or unstable structures without guidance. End quote. No numbers. Not yet. That is not because the toll is light. It is because the city cannot count itself. Mara, what is the condition of the people with you?
We have injuries, burns, cuts, smoke inhalation, panic, asthma. One man may have a broken arm from when the wall opened earlier. The woman who got burned on her leg is conscious, but she is in pain. The nurse is still organizing people. She found a first aid kit in the stairwell cabinet, but it is small, not enough for this. There are rescue whistles outside, at least I think that's what they are, short bursts. People are answering by banging on metal, but the nurse keeps telling them not too hard because the structure may be unstable. The sky is visible through several gaps now. There are pieces of the city falling. I saw a section of metal, maybe part of a roof unit, drop past the opening and hit somewhere below. The sound came a second later, huge and final. Nobody cheered when we saw the sky. That surprised me. People cried, but nobody cheered. I think the sky means we are not buried anymore. It does not mean we are safe.
The sheet continues retracting. Air quality teams are reporting hazardous chemical vapor in several areas. Residents emerging from buildings are being told to cover skin, avoid puddles, avoid dust, and move toward marked decontamination corridors if they are open. Emergency crews are setting up rinse stations outside the worst affected areas. Hospitals are preparing for chemical burns, crush injuries, lacerations, respiratory distress, dehydration, heat stress, smoke inhalation, and shock. The list is long because the disaster was not one thing. It was impact, pressure, heat, extraction, acid, retraction. Each phase left a different injury behind. We have reports of entire blocks where buildings remain standing, but every window is gone. Blocks where parked cars are flattened under biological residue and fallen roof material. Blocks where streets are coated in gray film and strips of rubber from tires dissolved by caustic runoff. Blocks where the pavement is buckled upward because underground steam and pressure could not escape normally. The elevated train lines in several sections are twisted or missing track segments. Bridges are damaged. Power substations are burned. Water mains are ruptured. Cell networks are intermittent. The emergency map is no longer a map of streets. It is a map of accessible corridors, blocked corridors, chemical zones, heat zones, collapse zones, and unknown zones. The President has addressed the nation. We will not play the audio, but I'll read the central portion of the statement. Quote, "Tonight, Chicago has suffered a catastrophic event unlike any in recorded history. Federal, state, and local responders are working under extreme conditions to rescue survivors, assess hazards, and prevent further loss of life. The unidentified mass that descended over the city is retracting, but danger remains severe. Americans are urged not to travel toward the affected area. We will bring every available resource to bear. We do not yet know what this was. We do know that Chicago is not alone." End quote. The last sentence is already being discussed. Chicago is not alone. Officials have clarified that the President meant the nation stands with Chicago. But people are hearing it another way because radar is still tracking other high-altitude sheet-like masses over the Great Lakes and portions of Canada. None are currently descending. That is the official statement. None are currently descending. That is not as comforting as officials intend. Mara, can you see outside now?
A little. We are near an opening on an upper landing, but not too close. From here I can see part of the park. It does not look like a park. The trees are flattened in one direction. Some are stripped of branches. The grass is coated in gray residue. There are cars pushed against one another along the street. A building across from us has no roof, not damaged roof, no roof. There are people on another building waving cloth from a window. A helicopter passed overhead but did not land. There is nowhere to land. The air is colder now. That is one of the strangest things. It was hot under the sheet, wet and chemical and suffocating. Now cold air is moving through the gaps, and people are shivering even though some were overheating half an hour ago. It feels like the city is exhaling after being held down, but the exhale is full of smoke and dust.
Cold air returning across the affected zone is being reported widely. Temperature sensors show sharp drops where the sheet has lifted, though some pockets remain hot due to fires, trapped steam, and blocked ventilation. The cold may feel like relief. It may also worsen shock in injured people. If you are assisting others, keep people warm and dry where possible, especially burn victims and people who are bleeding. Do not remove contaminated clothing over the face if it can spread chemical residue into eyes or mouth. Cut it away if possible. Use clean water for chemical exposure if available, but follow responder guidance where present. We have confirmation now that the main body of the sheet has separated from the downtown core. As it lifted, it tore away significant portions of upper structures. Several buildings are now classified as at risk of progressive collapse. Progressive collapse means one failure can lead to another. A missing roof leads to wall instability. A damaged column transfers load to a damaged beam. A floor gives way. Then another. People should not re-enter buildings once they exit unless directed by responders. Do not return for photos. Do not retrieve phones, documents, wallets, pets, medication, anything unless emergency personnel say it is safe. That is harsh. It is necessary. Buildings that look standing may not be standing in the way people understand. Mara,
There are responders in the street now. I can see them through the gap. Hazmat suits, helmets, lights. They are moving slowly, marking things with spray paint or tape. They are not rushing into every building because they can't. They're checking air, checking fluid, checking structure. Someone in our group started yelling to them, and they signaled back but told us to stay. I think they know we're here. People are crying again, different crying, less panic, more release. A man keeps saying thank you even though nobody has reached us yet. The nurse finally sat down. I don't think she had sat down for hours.
Tell her, if you can, that people listening heard what she did.
I will, John.
The sheet is now rising into the lower cloud layer. Long strands of material remain attached to parts of the city and are snapping one by one. Each snap drops debris. Some strands retract upward with metal inside them. Others tear loose and fall. Where the sheet has fully lifted, the city is visible in strips. Roofless blocks, open towers, steam, smoke, water from broken mains, chemical runoff, emergency lights, people signaling from windows, people emerging from parking structures, subway entrances, basements, lobbies, stairwells, and service corridors. Some walking, some carried, some covered in dust so completely they look like statues until they move. We still do not have reliable casualty numbers. We should be prepared for them to be severe. A metropolitan area was struck, sealed, heated, penetrated, chemically burned, and partially torn open. There is no version of that with small numbers. But numbers are not available yet, and guessing helps no one. What we know is that survivors exist across the affected zone. Rescue operations are underway. The sheet is lifting. The city is ruined. All of those things can be true together. We have a final statement tonight from Chicago Emergency Management. Quote, "The immediate overhead hazard is decreasing in portions of the affected area, but secondary hazards remain extreme. Survivors should shelter in place unless the structure is failing, or responders direct movement. Hazards include collapse, hazardous fluid, smoke, chemical vapor, live electrical systems, broken glass, unstable debris, ruptured utilities, and obstructed exits. Search and rescue is active. Make noise only if safe. Signal visually where possible. Preserve phone battery. Help is moving block by block." End quote. Help is moving block by block. That is how a city comes back after being covered. Mara, final word from where you are.
The rescue team is closer now. We can hear them in the building. They are calling room by room, but they are moving slowly because the floors are damaged and there is chemical residue. They told us not to move until they reach us. People are holding hands. Strangers. Nobody is talking much. There is gray light in the stairwell and dust floating through it. Every few seconds, something falls somewhere outside. The city keeps making sounds even though the main thing is leaving. I can see a slice of skyline through the gap. It is wrong. That is the simplest way to say it. The shapes are wrong. Buildings I know are missing pieces. The air is full of paper, insulation, smoke, and little bits of things I can't identify. But the sky is there. For hours, the sky was gone. Now it is there, and nobody trusts it.
This is Fictional Radio. Tonight, an unidentified sheet descended from the Great Lakes corridor and fell across Chicago. It arrived first as radar loss, then pressure, then weight. It struck the city with enough force to level neighborhoods before full contact. It sealed streets and buildings, turning air into a hazard. It heated the city under its own insulation. It pushed windows outward through pressure collapse. It grew trunks into buildings and stripped them for copper, steel, wiring, plumbing, and heat. It tightened across the skyline until towers bent under loads they were never meant to carry. When the military cut it, the sheet bled acid into the city. When it lifted, it tore roofs and upper floors away. Now the sky over Chicago is visible again, clearer than it was, colder than it was empty where the sheet had been. But the city below is a mangled frame. Windowless, roofless, burned in places, wet with chemical runoff, full of trapped people, rescuers, broken steel, and silence where streets used to be. There will be investigations. There will be names for the material, the event, the operation, the dead. There will be satellite analysis, military hearings, maps, memorials, accusations, rumors, false videos, and arguments over what could have been done sooner. But tonight, before the language catches up, the facts are simple. The sky fell, the city held for as long as it could. Then the thing that fell took what it came for and left. And Chicago remained beneath it, not alive in the way it was yesterday, not gone, something worse to look at, a city open to the air, a city with its roofs torn away, a city waiting, block by block, for someone to call into the ruins and hear an answer. Good night.